Fueling is a vital part of any triathlon, and the longer you go, the more important it becomes. Much like your car, put in the wrong type of fuel or not enough of it, and you won't get very far. So what is the right fuel for a triathlon, and how much should you take? Today, with the help of our friends at Precision Fuel and Hydration, we're going to take a look at everything you need to know for your triathlon fueling and hydration for you, the beginner triathlete. When you begin triathlon, you focus on your swimming and biking and running, of course. You probably haven't given your fuel and hydration even a second thought, and you probably even got through your first triathlon without thinking about it. But trust us when we say you'll look back on that first triathlon and go, oh, I messed up such basic things. I really got that wrong. Don't worry, that's part of the journey. But one of those things you'll look back on is your nutrition, what you eat and drink during your triathlon. You probably haven't given a second thought, or you have just started thinking about it now, a week or two before your first triathlon, and that was how you found this video. Now, the good news is you can actually learn most of what you need to know about your first triathlon's nutrition in the last week or two before your first triathlon. The science has come quite far when it comes to nutrition, and all the answers are out there. The bad news is that some things are individual and can only be learned by trial and error, but you'll be okay. Probably. Anyway, back to what we can teach you today. Now, if your triathlon is less than 90 minutes, you can probably get away with little to no fueling and nutrition plan, as long as you've set yourself up well beforehand, nutritionally speaking. But as you go beyond that 90 minutes, you're going to need a nutrition plan, because you're going to run out of readily available energy reserves. And you're either going to have to slow down and start using fat as a fuel, or the better option, fuel during your triathlon so that you delay running out of those reserves. Also, as you get into longer and longer events, the more important hydration becomes. It's unlikely you're going to get seriously dehydrated in your 90-minute sprint triathlon. But as you get into longer events, it's more and more likely you're going to become dehydrated. And you can put yourself in serious jeopardy in a longer event if you don't hydrate properly. So let's look at hydration first. Now, when we say hydration, you probably think of water, and for good reason. Water is what your body needs to function properly, and you literally can't live without it. And you can't exercise without it either. Well, you can, but not for very long before your ability to do that exercise is seriously diminished. How much you need to drink to keep exercising is dependent on how much you sweat, your sweat rate. And how much you sweat is dependent on environmental conditions. Obviously, you're going to sweat less in colder conditions, you're going to sweat more in hotter conditions. So, is it as simple as that? Drink enough water to replace the sweat you lost, and the more you sweat, the more you drink, and that's it? Well, not exactly, and I think it's time we spoke to the experts. Okay, we're here with Andy Blow from Precision Fuel and Hydration, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about hydration. So, Andy, thanks for joining us. First question, can we just drink water to stay on top of our hydration?
Well, it's a common question, that one, and to an extent you could say yes, you can, because that's basically what you need to stay alive. But when you want to perform at your best, when you're exercising and sweating hard, water's not always best. You sweat out a lot of electrolytes, and beyond a certain point, especially when it's hot or if you're doing something over a long distance, adding electrolytes to the water is really, really important as well. Okay, well that makes sense.
So then the next question is, how do we know how much to drink? Can I just go on thirst?
Again, for survival, going on thirst works just fine, because your body, your thirst instinct is very strong. If you've ever got really dehydrated and got really thirsty, you will know that you would punch your way through a wall to find a glass of water. So you're not going to die if you listen to thirst. Are you going to perform at your best though if you just drink to thirst? Not always, and certainly again in longer and hotter events you need a bit of a plan for how much you're going to drink, because that will help you to stay on top of it.
Well, thanks to Andy for that. We'll dig more into hydration in our next video on fueling for long distance triathlon, but I think we've made a good start there. And now it's time to look at energy, what we need to eat to keep going for longer. Now, as we've already said, if your triathlon is short, less than 90 minutes, you probably don't need to think about fueling at all. Just be well fueled beforehand and keep yourself hydrated and you'll be fine. But as you go longer and longer, this becomes more and more critical. So what should you be taking in if you're doing a longer triathlon? Should you be stuffing a cheeseburger in your pocket, or just a couple of jelly babies? Something in between? I think it's time we head back to our expert. Okay, Andy, assuming our triathlon will take longer than 90 minutes, what should I be eating? Can I just eat a cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger is probably not going to be the best choice. I have eaten a cheeseburger in a race once, but it was a race that lasted about 23 hours. And someone gave me one and it seemed like a good idea and it went down quite well. But in your average triathlon, what you need is simple carbohydrates. So things like energy gels, energy chews, liquid carbohydrates in an energy drink. That's what your body's going to prefer you to have when you're doing a triathlon.
And obviously a bit more practical to carry than a cheeseburger in your triathlon too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're eating energy gels and chews. How many of these should I be taking? Should I be just literally guzzling down as quickly as I can, as more energy is better? Or is a single gel, is it like rocket fuel, can it get me through the whole triathlon?
It's basically down to two things. It's the duration of the event and the intensity that you're going at. That determines how much fuel you're probably going to need. And we like to talk about it in terms of grams of carbohydrate an hour. The ballpark for recommendations is usually between 30 and 90 or so grams per hour, 30 being at the lower end for shorter events or for people who aren't moving as fast, and it could be as much as 90 or a little bit more per hour for experienced athletes going really hard doing a long event. We've actually got a fueling and hydration planner on our website, so you can punch in a bit about yourself and your event, and it will help guide you to roughly that right amount. But if you're more in the beginner phase, I would say it's probably prudent to start in the kind of 30 to 60 grams an hour range and work it upwards rather than coming down, because your sort of GI system won't necessarily be used to having a lot of carbs on the move when you're working quite hard just yet. Okay, and to put that into context, so someone can understand, 30 grams of carbohydrate is 1 energy gel, 60 grams is 2, 90 on the upper end is 3 energy gels per hour. That last point by Andy is important, and it's probably worth us reiterating. You are not eating to replace everything you burn during a triathlon. If you were, you'd be burning 800 to 1,000 calories an hour, and you're going to need to eat like an entire pizza during your triathlon. You're just trying to keep some energy intake going so that your reserves don't run dry and you don't run out of energy. Now you can eat anything to do this: energy babies, chocolate bar, banana, energy gel, energy bar, whatever you prefer. Just bear in mind that just because it tastes good doesn't mean it's good for your triathlon. You want simple carbs with minimal fat and minimal protein so that your body can absorb it whilst you're exercising. That's going to be your best bet. Triathlon fueling and hydration can make a big difference to how you perform on race day. And we hope this video has helped you to not have too many regrets when it comes back to looking back on your first triathlon, at least when it comes to nutrition anyway. Thanks again to Andy from Precision Fuel and Hydration for helping us out with today's video. They do actually have a really cool tool on their website which can help you plan your race day fueling and nutrition. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to GTN for more videos about everything triathlon.